Marvel brings in their youngest hero so far, a teenage girl, and maybe Captain Marvel's biggest fan, who finds out she has powers of her own. And she is the first superhero in the MCU clearly coming from a Muslim background. How will both play into the story? Will the show be too much tailored to a kid's audience? Hi there, it's Micha. If you join me, I will let you know my take on it. After covering all Marvel TV shows so far, I of course had to do a video for this one too, even though I plan to concentrate more on smaller and obscure movies and shows that are not covered by thousands of other reviewers already. Marvel and Star Wars content will always be an interest of mine, so I will likely continue there. But let's get to it, and I will try to keep the synopsis short. Kamala Khan is a 16-year-old Pakistani-American high school student, an aspiring graphic artist and a superhero fangirl. A girl with the usual dreams and fantasies that comes with being a young person in today's world. After putting on her great-grandmother's mystical bangle, she activated something dormant in herself. The ability to manipulate light into something tangible and solid.
Well, let's focus on what we know. Light comes out of you and it hardens.
Let's call it hard light.
Groundbreaking.
Among other things, it allows her to walk on it through the air. As she is now a legitimate superhero, there of course are also villains in her way. Creatures from another dimension, exiled into our world and hell-bent on returning into their own domain. Kamala, as the descendant of one of them, her aforementioned great-grandmother, can use the bangle to open up a pathway, but according to her best friend Bruno, a science geek, this may result in the destruction of our dimension, something the villains are willing to risk. The 6-part show ended up being a bit more catered to kids as your usual Marvel fare, but not too much as to lose the adult audience. It also did a great job in introducing the characters and her family and friends, without overpronouncing or underselling the importance of her cultural and religious background, by addressing it both in a clear and apropos way. I especially liked the use of Muslim folklore to mention that the bad guys, who called themselves clandestines, were often called jinns by people encountering them, though ultimately nothing they did would explain that, as they are just super strong, but that's about it. The acting and the effects are solid as usual in a Marvel show, so from a technical perspective there are no complaints. And in the beginning, the writing, as indicated, was also great, leading to a lot of positive feedback and reviews for those early episodes. Unfortunately, the screenplays for the later episodes are not as glowing. Pretty much somewhere around the 3rd chapter things shifted. And it is mostly the overarching plot that botches the storyline. Though also some cliched teeny drama tropes crept in, like the need to have several love interests for the lead. Here 3 of them, without much impact on the story. Many plot points and motivations are unclear, to the point where some actions appear to be plain stupid, and there is no later explanation for those. If you want to hear more details on this, stay till the end, when I will share those in the spoiler zone, as I want to keep this review as spoiler-free as possible. This seems to be more and more a problem with Marvel TV shows, which promise a lot in the beginning and only partially deliver in the end. With The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there were rumors about last-minute rewrites explaining plot holes, but here there is no such explanation in sight. I only hope that neither the studio or producers nor trolls out there try to blame the outcome and possible backlash on the fact that the show has a different ethnical and religious background, because those elements were the main saving graces, preventing the show from the worst.
You want me to turn off the lights, or are you still afraid of the gin?
Okay, this all may have sounded overly dramatic, and you can create your own opinion if the stuff I will call out in the spoiler zone warrants it all or not. Most of the time I am more disappointed if a show could have been great but isn't, than if a show is bad from the get-go. I enjoyed the first half of the show very much, especially for the inclusive angle and depiction of the lead's family and friends. But the plot twist and the remaining story of the second half of the series was dumb and took every honest enjoyment out of the equation. At the end, it is not really a bad show, but also not great. It could have been so much more with proper writing. It was entertaining enough, but as mentioned, not really great, so 6 out of 10 seems to be fair to me. Which would be solid for your run-of-the-mill TV show, but for a Marvel property, it is a disappointment. Now if you don't want to get spoiled but enjoyed this video so far, please like it now before you leave. And if you are no subscriber yet, maybe consider to change that. If you don't mind spoilers or have already watched the show, please follow me into the spoiler zone. Let's get right to it. The bad guys introduced themselves to Kamala as kind people. They want her to use the bangle to send them home, without highlighting the risks, or take the arm bracelet from her by force. At their first encounter though, they were all but offered the bangle but declined. And Kamala was willing to help them even knowing the risk. Then out of the blue and without any later explanation, they couldn't wait for her to try it, not even a day, as Kamala was planning to help them after her brother's wedding. Instead, the goons targeted the ceremony, revealing that they are evil. Why was it all of a sudden so urgent? They waited decades, likely centuries, to get back. What changed here? They then spent days hunting Kamala, so obviously there was nothing pressing and they could have just waited for her to do it, willing as planned. Of course, in the end of episode 5 of 6, the path is open, but the main villain, after previously disowning her child for helping Kamala, comes to her senses and closes it by sacrificing herself, without explanation how that works, to save this world with her son in it. Again, apparently out of the blue. We then end the main story with still 1 episode to go. I have never seen a Marvel show that doesn't resolve the main conflict in the finale. I was asking myself then, what will the finale be about? They will not make it about the damage control agency, which, also for no clear reason than implied prejudice, hunted the girl and now also the villain's son. And yes, they did make them the main villains now. Never were the stakes lower than in this final episode. Oh, and the main villain was now a female government agent with no character background or development given, except for the fact that she is disobeying her superior and that she is a total jerk. Even Hawkeye's training suit mafia looks like a solid adversary now in comparison. I was completely disappointed by this outcome. Were you disappointed too, or did this show work for you? Was there any other saving grace I overlooked? Let me know in the comments. So much for now, see you next time and thanks for watching!